This is continuous coverage.
Continuous coverage. Continuous coverage.
In the trial of Lori Vallow Daybell from the Hidden Killers podcast.
Hidden Killers podcast.
We're up to segment number 4, day number 5 of trial coverage. Testimony in the trial of Lori Vallow Daybell. Let's go to the courtroom.
Ma'am, would you take a look at each of those, and then I'll ask you some questions. But we can't show the jury yet. It's not yet admitted or published. So I need you to look at each of those first.
Okay. Yeah, these are all the pages from my...
I'm sorry, what are those?
These are all the pages, not all of them, but the pages from my journal.
Okay. That you referenced showing and giving to law enforcement?
Correct.
Okay. And are they true and accurate copies of the pages of your journal that you've referenced in your testimony today?
Yes.
Okay. Move for the admission of State's Exhibit 54, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Exhibit 54 will be admitted.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Permission to publish to the jury, Judge?
You may.
Thank you. Okay. Now, ma'am, State's Exhibit 54 has multiple pages in this document, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Let's start with the front page, which is a yellow sheet of paper with some drawings on it. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What is that?
This is a diagram.
What is it of?
This is a diagram of multiple creations and multiple worlds that one person can come to.
Okay. And is this a diagram based on teachings given to you by Lori?
Yes.
Okay.
Lori and Chad.
And so what is on, for me, it is on the left side of the paper. What are those words in that drawing?
So those are creations, or those are five worlds that were created, and each one of them there is a Satan and a Savior. There is each one of those worlds or creations were done separately, and the fifth creation or the fifth world is the earth, which is the lowest and the darkest world. This depicts what Lori and Chad said that I had lived. According to them, I had lived 5 times on the third creation, 4 times in the fourth creation, and 4 times in the fifth creation. On the side, on the bottom, it says limbo, and this is where Lori and Chad taught that the spirits who had been pushed out by if a person dies, there is a 2-minute window in which a demon can take over that body and inhabit it, and such as what they were saying that had happened to Charles and had happened to Tammy. And the original spirit of that person goes into limbo. It doesn't move anywhere. It can't go anywhere. It's just in limbo because it's waiting for the body to be put to rest.
So let me ask you, so when a person's spirit is pushed out of their body and the evil spirit gets into their body, the person's spirit goes to limbo?
Correct.
So for Charles, his spirit was put into limbo, according to Chad and Lori.
Correct.
And again, did Alex Cox believe this?
Oh, absolutely. Can you put that back? Because there's one.
Sure. Is there anything else of relevance on it?
Yes. See what it says, a brother of Heavenly Father in Jesus?
Yes.
Chad had claimed that in another of those creations, he had been the brother of Heavenly Father in Jesus, and in another creation, he had been the Holy Ghost.
And if such things were true within the circle of people around Chad and Lori, would that have given Chad authority and power?
Oh, absolutely. He would have been spiritually the highest of anybody that we would know.
Okay. And where was Lori's rankings in all of this?
Well, he had chosen her to be his wife, so, and they had already been married 7 times before on this earth, and they had actually been in other worlds together also. So they had been married and exalted together in other worlds. So then that was his companion, therefore put her in the same spiritual standing as he would.
Okay. And did Alex believe all that?
Absolutely.
Now, with that document is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 18 pages from your journal, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'm just going to show you the first page and a couple of other pages. What are we looking at the front page of the stapled 18-page document that is your copy of your journal?
This is the ratings that Chad and Lori taught. So that would be going from a 1 is in the spirit world, and when you come the first time on the earth, you're at 2. Second time you come, you're at 3. The 4th time you come for 1, and so on and so forth. And it would be exactly the same thing for ratings if you were light or if you were dark. So this will be the rating, either 1L for 1 light or 1D for 1 dark.
And then, is it, so the lowest level is at 1 and
Correct.
the highest level is 6 or 7?
6.
Okay. And this is the numbering scale for both the light and the dark.
Correct.
And forgive me, I think you told us, were you a 4.2 light?
I believe so.
Okay. And what was Lori when she first talked to you and introduced the idea?
4.3 light.
Okay. So higher than you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. On the 4th page of the exhibit, there is a phrase cast out. Do you see it?
Yes.
Okay. And it says get rid of them. How, once the evil spirit is pushed out of a body, how do you destroy the body?
I don't know if there was a way to destroy the body. What this would depict would be that since Lori and Chad were saying that every time that one demon was cast out, and then will leave that 2-minute window for another one to come in, then spiritually we needed to, how
How do you prevent another?
Prevent from another
Right.
demon to come in by doing certain things, such as putting water and fire and destroying the body in order to be able to, so that there will be no way that another demon could come in.
Okay. And so, in order to make sure a demon doesn't come back, the body has to be destroyed in some way.
Correct.
Burning is one way.
Correct.
Destroying, does that mean, taking apart? Is that another way?
Correct.
Okay. Is there anything about binding?
I believe so.
Okay. What about binding the body?
I believe so that there was one like that too.
Okay. May I have State's Exhibit, I believe, 8N and 8M, please?
Yes.
Previously admitted, Your Honor. Thank you, sir. Do you want to take this one? So I don't accidentally forget to give it to you. Here, thank you. Clumsy. Thanks. All right. Ma'am, these exhibits have been previously admitted, States Exhibit 8M and 8N. These, do you recognize what these scales are, if you could see them? Let me see if I can zoom in. Focus. I may just have to show the witness the exhibit. Can you see it? Is it focused for you?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Do you know what these are?
Yes, I do.
What are these?
The one on the left-hand side is, here again is the scale of the ratings of the people who are upon the earth right now. And Chad had put here how many twos, because remember, one is still in a spiritual form. So a 2 would be billions of males and females. Then a 3 would be only 700,000. For 1 would be 70,000. For 2's only 7,000, and so on and so forth, up to a 6.
Now, I do notice you mentioned the page that's on the left-hand side of the exhibit, because it's a photograph of a couple of pages. And what's the page sort of in the middle of the exhibit, the middle right side? Can you see any of that?
Yes. I believe this is when Lori asked Chad to give her the rating for all of her family.
Okay. Now, if you could, do you see a rating for her daughter, Tylee Ryan?
Judge, I'm going to object, and may I voir dire in aid of an objection?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Pastinas, had you seen these
Yes.
before
Yes.
before today?
Yes.
And who showed these to you?
I don't remember,
You don't remember?
but I have seen them before. Yeah.
Okay. Lori didn't show them to you, did she?
I don't remember.
Chad didn't show them to you, did he?
Actually, Chad did have this on his computer, and then, yes, he did show me this in his computer.
When?
At the meeting in August of 2019 at Lori's house.
Did it have at Lori's house in August of 2017? Sorry, one more time. What was the date on that?
I believe it was in early August of 2019.
2019, early August.
I believe that's what the day was,
Okay.
to the best of my recollection.
Okay. And did it have all this handwriting on it?
No,
No. So it was a different document?
it was in his computer. It was the same document in computer format, whether it was Word format or something like that.
And he explained to you what all this stuff was?
Yeah, he had this and several others.
Okay. All right, Judge, I guess I don't have an objection.
Okay. You can continue with your examination, Ms. Smith.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I asked you about the rating for Tylee Ryan. That's down in the middle of the page. Under the phrase third husband.
Oh, I see it. Okay, I see it now.
What was Tylee's rating?
4.1 dark.
Okay. And on that same document, under Tylee, there is ratings for Charles Vallow, correct?
Yes.
And what was his rating now?
3 light.
What was the rating for Melanie Boudreau? I believe that's down at the end, and I know the print's hard and the scale, the lighting's hard in here.
3 light.
Okay. And what about Brandon? What was Brandon's rating?
3 dark.
And this was based on teachings from Chad?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Now, previously you have talked about States Exhibits 52 and 53. Do you remember talking about some of those? Okay. Let me show you, if I may, Your Honor. Show you States Exhibits 52, C, D, and E. See if you recognize those. Or, 52C, D, and E. May I show those to the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Do you recognize those?
Yes.
What is 52C, D, and E?
These ones are pictures that were taken at the Preparing a People conference in Rexburg.
Okay. And who was at that Preparing a People conference in Rexburg?
Chad Daybell, Serena Sharp, Melanie Gibb, and I.
Okay. Was Lori at that conference?
No.
Okay. And are each of those true and accurate pictures of the people who attended the Preparing of People conference? And was that in 2018 or was that in 2019? Okay. Are each of those true and accurate pictures of the people who attended that conference?
Yes.
Move for the admission of 52C, D, and E.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right. 52C, 52D, and 52E are all admitted.
All right, ma'am, let's turn first to 52C. I apologize, Your Honor, permission to publish?
You can.
I got ahead of myself. What are we looking at 52C?
On the left-hand side, it's me, Audrey, Danae, and Serena Sharp.
Okay. And you've mentioned Audrey before? Was she part of, did she attend several of the conferences?
Yes.
Okay. Was she friends with Chad?
Yes.
What is 52D?
So in these pictures, we are at Chad's table. And the left-hand side is Chad. The next lady, I don't remember who she is. Then it's Serena, Melanie, and I.
And 52E? What is that?
This is another picture of that conference. I don't remember the first lady on the left. Then it's Melanie, Serena, I, Audrey, and then I don't remember the other lady's name.
Okay. But you're in the middle in red?
I am in the middle, yes.
Okay.
In the red scarf.
All right. And Serena is on one side of you and Audrey's on the other?
Correct.
And then Melanie Gibb is on further to your picture in the right?
Yes.
Okay. And if I may, Your Honor, state would like to show the witness State's Exhibit 53B.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What is it?
It's a picture of me and Serena at the Rexburg preparing a people conference.
Okay. Is that a true and accurate picture of you and Serena at the Rexburg preparing a people conference?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I move for the admission of 53B.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. I don't believe there's any relevance to this picture. It's just a picture of. I don't believe it has any tie to Lori Vallow or Chad Daybell.
I'll note the objection. I'll also note that, well, I guess it's been previously indicated by the witness that it was a different location as well. The question I have, though, is what is the relevance of that picture to the state's case?
I'm going to ask the witness some questions about conversations that occurred at the Rexburg preparing a people conference.
And Your Honor, I guess my objection is I was going to say that this also was earlier referenced to be at another location, and now she's changing the location. I think if she wants to do that, maybe if she could offer us some sort of an offer of proof at a sidebar or something.
Okay. Well, at this point, I will sustain the objection on relevance grounds.
Okay. Did you have conversations with Chad Daybell at the preparing a people conference?
Yes, I always spoke with him during the conferences.
Okay. And do you remember, was this preparing a people conference before or after Charles died?
Before.
Okay. And was it before or after he had talked to you about his light and dark scales? When I say he, I apologize. Chad had talked to you about the light and dark scales, if you remember.
I don't remember
Okay.
which one was first.
Okay. Do you remember your conversation with Chad at the Rexburg preparing a people conference?
I'm sorry, I'm thrown off by the question because this is the Boise.
Okay.
This is the Boise conference, and yes, I did talk to him.
Okay.
During that conference.
So let me make sure I'm clear. Can you look at the exhibit sticker on the back? I just want to make sure we have it straight. What's the number on the back?
53B.
Okay. And I apologize. What conference was it? this was at?
This is the Preparing a People Boise
Conference.
Okay.
Did you have conversations with Chad Daybell at the Preparing a People conference in Boise?
Yes, I had conversations with him during the conference and after the conference.
Okay.
We were staying at the same hotel.
Okay. And when was this? Before or after Charles died?
Before.
Okay. Was it before or after Chad had met Lori?
After.
Okay. Was it before or after Charles and Lori had split up?
It was after they had split up.
Okay. So could you, so sometime in the late winter, early spring of 2019? Would that be correct?
I would say that's accurate.
Okay. So what conversation did you have with Chad Daybell at the Boise Preparing a People conference?
We talked about Lori was supposed to be at this conference, and we talked about how she was unable to make it because she canceled her trip at the last minute because she was thinking that Charles was going to serve her during this conference. We also talked about.
Can I ask you, serve her how?
At this point, counsel, we've had an offer of an exhibit. We had an objection with some questions, a native objection, and I thought we were back just laying foundation, but it sounds like, I don't know if we've moved on from the exhibit or you're still laying foundation to get the exhibit in.
I apologize. I thought the court wanted me to continue to lay the foundation. That's what I was going for.
I just wondered if we were still in a foundational line of questioning.
I can do it either way. I can move for the admission again, having laid additional foundation, or I can finish this section up.
Let me just ask, Mr. Thomas, is there an objection continuing at this point with the additional questioning and answers you've heard here?
No, Judge, will not object.
Okay, so 53B was offered. It's now been admitted, and you can continue your questioning, Ms. Smith. Thank you.
I'm sorry. What did Chad say about Lori not being there?
We talked about how it was best for her not to be there so that she could be protected because in that way the person that was going to be there to serve her couldn't find her.
Okay. And why was Lori not getting served with divorce papers in a way of protecting her?
I don't know.
Okay. And who was present with you at this conference?
Melanie, Gibb, Serena, Audrey, and I were there.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time I will renew my request for the admission of State's Exhibit 53B.
It's already been admitted.
Oh, thank you, Judge. I'm sorry. May we publish it to the jury?
Yes.
And that's a picture of?
And that's Serena and I.
Okay. Now, turning towards some additional questions, there was your description of castings. Did the castings always stay the same? Were they handled the exact same way each time?
They were similar, but not the same.
Okay. How was it different than just praying for someone? So
when we are praying for someone, we are asking for whatever that person may need, or blessing them, or asking for help or deliverance, or whatever it may be that that person is needing. Casting is specifically to cast out an evil spirit or a demon.
And there were castings on Charles
Yes.
that you participated in.
Yes.
Castings on Tammy that you participated in.
Yes.
Okay. The group of people that was that would come to your house or meet with Chad and Lori, were each of them given gifts or told that they had spiritual, significance?
Yes.
Okay. So, what was Melanie Gibbs' gift?
She was a gatherer.
Okay. What was your gift?
Chad said that I was my gift was the elements.
What does that mean?
To be able to work with the elements.
All right.
I didn't quite get the response on Melanie's gift. What was that?
Melanie Gibbs' gift was
A gatherer.
a gatherer. Okay. And just what does that mean? What does gatherer mean?
Gathering people who were awake.
Okay. What does awake mean?
Awake to the signs, aware of the times, and aware of the things that are to come prior to the second coming.
Okay. And yours was to work with the elements?
Correct.
Okay. And these were gifts identified or described for you by Lori and Chad?
Yes.
Okay. Did Lori tell you this, or did Chad? Or
Chad.
both? Chad. Okay. What was Serena? What was her gift?
Chad said that she was a very powerful goddess.
Okay. What about Melanie Boudreau? I think you call her Melly, but Melanie Boudreau. What was her gift?
I don't remember
Okay.
what her gift was.
Okay. And what was Alex's gift or responsibility?
He was a warrior.
Okay. And a warrior for what?
Chad had told him that he was going to be a warrior, a defender, and he was going to be training many other warriors that were going to be moving to Rexburg in the future.
Okay. And when you say a warrior defender, a defender of who?
Well, at that time, Chad had told Alex that he had come only once to this earth, and the sole purpose for him coming to this earth was so that he could be Lori's protector and defender.
Okay. Did Alex believe this?
Absolutely.
Okay. You mentioned about that Lori had talked about problems in her financial problems or problems in her marriage to Charles. Did you ever talk to Alex about that situation or about what happened to Charles?
I don't recall talking to Alex about their financial issues.
Do you recall talking to him about what happened to Charles?
Yes.
What did he say about what happened to Charles?
I asked him if he was okay after he had just shot someone. I thought he would be like in shock or struggling with what had happened. And he said, Sulema, he was a zombie.
Did Lori explain to you anything about Charles's life insurance money?
Yeah, she mentioned that Charles had $1 million life insurance and that she was the beneficiary of it.
Did she ever talk about other plans, that if the casting didn't work, did she talk about other ways to deal with Charles?
When we were at my house in March of 2019 and we had done the casting, she was laughing and she said that, well, if it doesn't work, I can always put some pills in his water or something. And then she laughed it off.
Did Lori ever talk to you, or Lori and Chad ever talk to you about how long they expected JJ to live?
Lori had said that he was going to have a very short life. And then in a meeting that we had at Lori's house in early August
of 2019,
Chad said that JJ was going to have a very short life, that he was going to, the reason why he was going to live a short life was because he was going to come right back as Colby's child.
And to your knowledge, did Alex believe this?
Yes, but Alex believed everything they told him.
Now, did you ever hear a conversation about how long Tylee was going to live?
Not that I recall.
Okay. Did you ever have any information that she would die soon?
Not that I remember.
Okay. Now,
Ms. Smith?
Yes, sir.
Pardon the interruption. Could we just have a brief sidebar with you
Sure.
about
Sure.
scheduling?
Sure.
All right, thanks, Ms. Smith. Apologies, we just we're seeing where we are in terms of your direct. It sounds like there's not a whole lot left, so we'll let you complete your direct, and then we'll take our mid-afternoon recess after that.
Thank you, Judge. You need some water? You good?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. You mentioned earlier about people who personally witnessed Christ having an elevated status, correct?
Correct.
All right. And that would count for Lori Vallow if her testimony to you was believed by the group.
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever have any evidence to suggest that Lori believed such things? Did the rules apply to Lori?
Lori and Chad were teaching that if you had been exalted in another world, another probation, then this time that you came to the earth, it didn't count for you because you had already proven yourself another probation. And she would often say, it doesn't count for me.
Okay. You made a hand gesture. She would hit something and go,
it doesn't count for me.
okay. Okay. So when Lori shared these experiences and her personal belief that things didn't count for her, did the people in your group believe her?
I don't know whether other people believed her or not.
Did you believe her?
That part I couldn't.
Okay.
I couldn't.
Okay.
I used to say it counts for me.
Okay. Did Alex believe her?
Yeah, Alex believed everything she said.
Okay. Did Alex believe his mission was to protect her?
Absolutely.
And that mission was given to him by?
Chad.
And
Lori, because they gave it to him during a blessing.
okay. And who is it who benefited from Charles's death?
Lori directly and eventually Chad.
Who benefited from Tylee's death?
Lori directly and then eventually Chad.
And who benefited from JJ's death?
Lori directly and eventually Chad.
And who benefited from
Jack,
Tam?
I don't understand the context of who's benefiting and how they're benefiting.
I'll sustain the objection. I
Thank
think
you.
it's vague.
And Alex Alex took seriously his mission to protect Lori.
Absolutely.
I have nothing further.
All right, thank you, Ms. Smith. So we'll take our mid-afternoon break now, and we will try to make this 15 to 20 minutes if possible, and then cross-examination can start after that.
All right, please.
All right, thank you. Just before we bring the jurors back in, I'll indicate that on the break I've discussed with the bailiffs here in the courtroom that there have been some of the participants that are talking loudly enough that others are hearing. Some are making comments. In particular, anyone seated anywhere near the jurors are not permitted to do that. Anyone else who's making any kind of comment loud enough that it's disturbing anyone next to you or making any kind of commentary on the case itself is going to be excused from the court if that's loud enough that it disrupts these proceedings in any way. So I would appreciate everyone in continuing to comply with the conduct order. For those of you that want to view it from somewhere else, we have another location here in this courthouse that's available as well, but I appreciate everyone in considering that as we bring the jurors back in this afternoon, and we'll continue to enforce that throughout the proceedings going forward. So with that, if we'll go ahead and bring the jurors back in for continued testimony.
All right, please. Jury's out present, counter for you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bailiff. Please be seated. All right, we just concluded our mid-afternoon break. We'll be back on the record. Case CR 22-211624, State of Idaho versus Lori Noreen Vallow. The witness, Zulema Pastenes, is on the stand. I'll remind you, you're still under oath for your testimony. And the state just concluded with its direct examination. So at this time, we will start with the cross-examination. Mr. Thomas, will that be you today?
It will, Your Honor. Thank
All
you.
right, Mr. Thomas, you can inquire.
Good afternoon, Ms. Pastenes. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. So, just a little bit curious. It looks your testimony this afternoon was dramatically different than your testimony this morning. Did you review any notes over the lunch hour or talk to anybody about the case over the lunch hour?
No,
Okay.
my nerves were quite different this morning than this afternoon.
Oh, okay. Did you take any medication?
No, but I ate lunch.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So you first met Lori, it looks like in 2019 2019 or 2018? 2018, is that right?
2018.
Okay.
Yes.
And that was in late fall, early winter?
Yes, fall of 2018.
Okay. And that had to do with a conference for, I'm not sure if it was a preparing a people, but it was one of those types of conferences. Is that right?
It was at a meeting at Melanie Gibbs' house.
Okay. And was that in relation to preparing a people, or what kind of a meeting was it?
Melanie usually would have different people coming to speak at her house. Sometimes they would talk about a book. Sometimes they would talk about food storage. Sometimes other topics.
Okay.
So they're just different topics all the time.
Were these the kinds of topics that you would also encounter at the Preparing a People conferences that you would go to?
Some of them, yes.
Okay. All right. And you met Lori there, and the two of you became friends over the year or so?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that connected you, I'm assuming, is your faith. You're both members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And you're both, I don't want to say fairly active, because most fairly active people go to church once a week and just do the basics. But you guys were kind of, you and your core group, I guess what I'm saying is you, Melanie Gibb, Lori, some of the other people that you mentioned, were kind of very active in the church. Is that right?
I would say so, yes.
Okay. You would go to the temple quite often?
Yes.
And sometimes that's where you would meet up with these other women, right?
Yes.
Okay. And as you've indicated on direct exam, these meetups weren't just for spiritual gain; they were also just to get together, just a group of friends, right?
Sometimes, yes.
But or was it more or less mostly about the spiritual portion of your life, or was it? Or was there kind of a divide between these are my regular friends and then these are my church friends? Does that make any sense?
It does make sense what you're saying. I would say that when I was meeting with Lori, we usually were talking about spiritual things.
Okay, all right. And one of the things that you indicated on direct examination with the prosecution, and one of the things I think that kind of maybe drew you to Lori was her personal experience with meeting Jesus, or having a personal experience where she had a personal visitation. Was that something that kind of intrigued you?
I don't know if I would use the term intrigue me as much as when someone has an experience like that. It is the ultimate, most sacred experience that any human can have. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I find it, I would say, intriguing as much as I found it amazing. Amazing.
And so you wanted to hear more about that?
Absolutely.
Okay. And over the course of the year or so that you guys were friends, that came up a lot, right?
Yes.
And you had your own experiences when you were in the temple sometimes, right?
Yes.
I specifically remember reviewing some of your text messages, specifically to Chad, where you talk about having spiritual experiences while you were in the temple, right?
Correct.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about some of that?
Objection, relevance about her personal experiences?
What's the relevance?
Your Honor, it goes to her personal belief in Lori's belief and Chad's belief, and how close she was to this specific group.
I'll overrule the objection and allow the
Thank you.
question. So if you want to reiterate the question, perhaps, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you. Would you please tell us a little bit about some of your spiritual experiences while you were in the temple?
Would you like me to relate anything in specific that you are referring to?
Sure. One of the ones was specifically on 12/4/2018. It says, Hi, Chad. This is Zulema. I have to tell you that since you gave me that blessing, I've been having visions, full awake, no more dreams. My visions have been at the temple. I've had 3 so far. Do you recall that?
Yes,
So
I do.
tell me a little bit about some of those visions.
Judge, I'm going to object again about the specific visions. I'm not seeing their relevance about her visions unless they relate to Chad and Lori.
Well, there was a lot of questioning about what she believed, and I think this does go directly to that issue, so I'll overrule that objection at this point. I will indicate it could certainly get too broad, Mr. Thomas,
Sure.
but you've narrowed this into communications she had with Chad Daybell, so for that reason I'll allow it.
Thank you.
I am not exactly sure specifically which visions he would be that I was referring to at the time. I can explain one that I remember. I remember seeing myself in a beautiful room with a big table, and I was sitting at the head of the table, and there was all these children or people sitting. It was a very large table, and that's what I saw.
And there was a man sitting on the other end?
Yes.
Okay. And you couldn't see his face, but he was a godlike being?
Yes, a very light being. Mm-hmm.
And it says, I'm just reading specifically from this text message that you're describing. It says, I couldn't see his face, but he was a godlike being. And then in parentheses you said, I think I read being shown my posterity and my husband. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. And then you also indicated on direct examination that Chad had given you a blessing about you being married. Is that right?
Correct.
Were you currently married when he gave you that blessing?
No.
No? Okay. Had you been married before the blessing?
Yes.
Multiple times or just one time?
Multiple times.
Okay. So you being married wasn't a super far stretch about getting married, right? Him giving you a blessing about getting married?
No.
Okay. When you were doing these castings, is that what they were called? Is that what you called them, just castings?
Yes.
Okay. They were done spiritually, not physically. Am I right about that?
Correct.
Okay. You never physically harmed anyone or attempted to harm anyone, right?
Correct.
You were attempting to spiritually harm or bind the spirit of that particular person, right?
Correct.
Okay. You were, I guess I want to use the word light worker, or someone who works for, who is working in a spiritual realm for the lighter side. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. And this was, you didn't think that this was anything evil or anything bad?
No.
Okay.
Not at the time.
But you've since then come to think that it was evil or bad?
There are 2 children that have died and a mother of 5 that have died. I will consider that evil, yes, sir.
Okay. And you believe that your casting out of spirits had some direct effect on 2 children that died and the spouse of another person that died?
My belief is that...
And I'm sorry, that's just a yes or no question.
Objection. Asset should be allowed to answer.
And I think that counsel can handle that on redirect.
I agree. It was just a leading yes or no question, so why don't you re-ask the question, Mr. Thomas, or I can have the court reporter indicate what it was.
So, to my recollection, what you're saying is you believe that your work on casting had a direct effect on the 2 children that died and the spouse of the person that died.
Not my work, but Chad and Lori's work did.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. You have a job when you're in Arizona. You said that on direct exam that you have a job, right?
Correct.
Is that job being a life coach?
No.
Okay. What is your job?
I am a job coach.
Job coach. Okay.
Employment specialist.
Employment specialist. So what is that? You teach people how to, I'm sorry, I guess I won't even ask. What is that? What does that mean?
I teach people how to create resumes, how to apply for jobs. I help them get in place in jobs, and then I train them in their jobs.
Okay. And so you're not I mean, that's a fairly sophisticated job, right?
I don't find it sophisticated. It's just a hard job, but I don't consider it sophisticated.
You're more sophisticated than the people that you're helping, otherwise they wouldn't need your help, right?
I'm more knowledgeable, yes.
More knowledgeable. Okay. And so I guess what I'm getting at is you're not a very gullible person, right? I mean, you have some sophistication.
I believe that I have always been the kind of person that believes people and that believes that if I am not going to do something, someone else wouldn't do it either. So if I have been the kind of person that believes in the goodness of people, I see their positive side, their good side, and I tried to believe that their intentions are always good. I have become a lot more cautious since meeting Chad and Lori, and my views have changed a little in regards to that.
Okay, so when you met Chad and Lori, you thought they were doing good work?
I thought they were kind, loving, righteous, law-abiding.
Did you believe that they were led by the Spirit?
At the time, yes.
Okay. You talked a little bit about a time when you were at Lori's house after a conference in St. George, and then everybody kind of went back to, there was another conference, and then everybody kind of went back to Lori's house. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. And you were there that night?
Yes.
And were you ordained to the Church of the Firstborn on that night?
I don't recall that happening that night.
Okay. Do you recall when that happened, the ordaining to the Church of the Firstborn?
I know it's done, but I don't remember when.
You don't remember when, but you know that it did happen?
Yes.
Okay. And on that night, that Chad gave you a blessing in Lori's house, you indicated that the blessing said that you were a special person, that you were a special being, that you were going to do some amazing things in the future. Is that right? All those things are right?
Correct.
Was there anything specifically like personal to you? Other than, I mean, those were kind of generalized blessing type words, right?
I don't know if I would call that generalized. I believe that Chad was very good about giving blessings to give you lots of praise and make you feel very special and make you feel very good about the person that you were. I don't quite recall anything else that was more personal than that on that blessing. If there was, I don't remember it.
Okay. You've heard other people get blessings, right?
Yes, plenty.
And this particular blessing, the way you described it, is a pretty generic or a pretty run-of-the-mill type blessing, right?
I would have to, in one way, disagree, in another one, agree. Usually, when I receive a blessing, will be for either strength or a health blessing, and it would be more directed towards that the strength that I need to, whether it's to overcome the challenge that I am faced with, or to overcome the illness that I am experiencing at the time. So I don't feel that that blessing was as generic to the other blessings that I have received from other members of the church.
And I guess on that note, did you specifically seek Chad out to get a blessing for either health or for some specific reason?
On that night or any other time?
No, on that particular night.
Not on that particular night, no. He offered.
Oh, he offered to give you a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He asked me to come to Lori's house so that he could give me a blessing.
Okay. And did I think you indicated that he also gave Alex a blessing that night? Or
Not
no?
on that occasion.
That was a different occasion, okay.
Correct.
On that specific night, do you recall him giving anybody else blessings?
No, only to me.
Okay. I guess that was pretty personal to you then, because if you were the only one getting a blessing.
Correct.
Okay. We talked a little bit, or the prosecutor talked to you a little bit about having a lunch at Firebirds. Is that right?
Yes.
And where is Firebirds?
In Gilbert, Arizona.
Okay. And what was the occasion? How far in time from the time that he came to Lori's house and gave you that blessing to when you met up with him at Firebirds?
Oh. I can't remember the specific date, but it was in 2019 that he came.
Okay. Was it a month later, 2 months later, 5 months later? Can you recall? That's just too much?
I don't recall when he came.
Okay. You did make quite a few, have quite a few text messages with Chad. Were you texting him fairly regularly, do you think?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. And you were basically texting him about what kinds of things? Mostly spiritual things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Asking him questions.
That time that he was at Firebirds and he wanted to give you some specific information, you said that he specifically didn't want Melanie Gibb to hear that. Is that right?
Him and Lori, for some reason, didn't want Melanie Gibb to hear what he was going to say to me.
Okay. And what exactly, tell me again, what exactly did he say to you about that he didn't want Melanie Gibb to hear?
He said he had information about who I was and my past lives,
And did that resonate with you?
I was very curious about it.
Okay. And when he told you about it, that was a pretty personal thing for you, right?
Yes.
He specifically said that you had lived. You indicated that you had lived on this particular earth 4 different times. Is that right?
That's what he said.
Okay. And on the second time is when he told you about the second time you were here on this earth, right?
He told me about all of them.
About all of them. But this one at Firebirds, he specifically told you about the second time, right? Or am I wrong? That's what I recall from your testimony.
At Firebirds, he said that he had information in regards to who I was and about my past lives. And he said that since Lori and Chad didn't want Melanie Gibb to hear it, I don't know why, that he will give me a call later. Then he called me, and then he related to me all of my past lives, and the second one including.
Oh, so he relayed to you all of your past lives.
Correct.
I see. But the only one that you testified to was the second time.
Yeah, I think that I don't know how to describe that, but I think that that life was the one that was the most shocking to say.
Well, yeah. I mean, you said that you were 14 years old, you were raped and murdered, and at the same time that Lori was your mother, and Lori was also murdered that time, right?
That's what Chad said, yes.
All right. And did you pray about that or think, or did you have some sort of spiritual experience related to that?
No spiritual experience, but I did believe him.
You believed him? Mm-hmm. Were you confirmed by the Spirit, or it was just a belief in him the way he said it?
It was my belief in him.
Okay. Your Honor, I would like to look at State's Exhibit 54, or Exhibit 54 that was admitted. How does this work? So this is part of State's Exhibit 54. Do you recall testifying about that?
Yes.
Okay. And it's just a sheet of paper that you turned over to the police or the prosecutor, is that right?
Yes.
Which one? Was it the police or was it the prosecutor? I don't know.
I believe it's the prosecutor, right?
Okay.
I think that's what it was.
You're not allowed to look at them and ask you for clarification. If you don't remember, you don't remember.
I gave all of this stuff when they came to talk to me in Arizona, so I'm not exactly sure whether I should say police or, so I guess I don't know.
Okay. And when was that?
I don't remember when they came, I'm sorry.
Okay. And are you the one who drew this? Is this your handwriting?
That is my handwriting.
And you drew all of the things on the paper that you can see on the paper?
Yes.
Okay. And did you draw this during the interview with the police? Or was this drawn some other time?
I don't remember.
Okay, then that's a fair statement. Do you know why you drew it?
No, I don't.
Okay. I'm now going to show you page 1 of the large packet of Exhibit 54. Can you identify that?
Yes.
And did you draw that yourself?
Yes.
Is that on the back of a receipt or something, or is that in a journal? What is that?
This is my journal.
Okay. Did you ever? I think there was some testimony about you having some information on the back of a receipt. Was any of that in any of the stuff that you looked at today?
No.
Okay. And this was drawn in your journal?
Yes.
Do you know what day it was drawn?
No.
Okay. Do you recall about when it was drawn?
This was drawn around the time that Lori and Chad started to teach us about the different levels that people had. So I'm going to say probably February, March of 2019, around there.
And this was in one of your journals, and would this be something that you took with you while you were talking with Chad and Lori or other people?
Yes.
So you would have done this contemporaneously or at the same time, around the same time as you were discussing the levels and other matters with Chad and Lori, is that right?
Yes.
But you don't specifically recall when you did this particular one?
No, I wouldn't know specifically the date, but it would have been around that time when they were teaching this.
Okay. All right. And would that have been one of the days when Chad was down in Arizona, or would that have been sometime where you learned at some other place?
It could have been either one of them.
Okay. So this is specifically a page that was talked about with regards to the words cast out. Do you recall testifying about that?
Yes.
Okay. And when you testified about that, tell me a little bit about this page, when it was written, or what was going through your mind when you were writing it. Do you have any recollection of that?
This was done around the time when we were doing castings on Charles. So it had to be in between March and July of 2019. And these were just steps that could be followed to cast out an evil spirit.
Okay. Let's just take it from the top. It's the first one says, what does it say? What's the very top say? Order?
I believe that I was trying to write order of the priesthood.
Okay. And so that's part of the prayer, you say, in the order of the priesthood, or something to that effect?
Correct.
Okay. And then number 2, what was that? Dispel. What does that mean?
Dispel or encapsulate.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm not exactly sure what he meant.
Okay. All right.
I'm sure it made sense to me then, but now I don't recall what he meant.
Okay. Then the next thing says cast out, right? What does that mean?
Casting out, like ordering it to leave the body.
Ordering the spirit to leave the body.
The evil spirit or demon.
Okay. All right.
Leave.
What about number 5, burn?
Burn would be if we we wanted to make sure that there was no option for another evil spirit or another demon to come in within that 2-minute window, that they were saying that another demon could come and take over. So, but if we burned around the body, then there wouldn't be that opportunity.
Okay, so when you say that there's a 2-minute window, is that a literal 2-minute window?
Yeah, that's what Lori and Chad would say, yes.
Okay, and you believe that?
At the time, yes.
Okay.
Now I don't.
Now you think there's a larger window?
Now I don't believe anything that they said. I believe that they made it all up.
So you don't believe that demons can be cast out of humans?
I don't believe that the way that anything that they did was right or correct. No.
Okay.
Do I believe that an evil spirit can be cast out?
Yes.
Yes, because it was done in the Bible, and Jesus Christ did do it.
Okay.
But I believe that was completely different than what they were trying to do.
Okay. So people can be cast, or evil spirits can be cast out, but just not by Chad and Lori, in your opinion?
I just don't believe that Chad, Lori, would have the authority to do that, nor the right intentions.
Okay. So you don't believe that they had the authority to cast out, and you don't believe that they had the intention to cast out the evil spirits. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay. And when you say burn, and we talked a little bit about that, where you would burn for 2 minutes around the body of the possessed person or demonic person, is that right?
Objection misstates what the witness said.
Okay.
That's sustained.
Okay. Tell me what you would do. Tell me what burn, number 5 burn means.
I believe the way that I explained it was that we would burn around the body, so that not another demon wouldn't be able to come into the same body.
Okay. And tell me how that happened.
Judge, I'm going to object at this point. It's been asked and answered a couple of times.
Well, that's overruled.
Tell me how you would burn around somebody's body or burn somebody's body spiritually, or how in this particular context.
Well, everything was done during a casting would be done spiritually, verbally.
Okay. So how do you verbally burn somebody?
I guess you just verbally describe it.
Verbally describe what?
How you would verbally describe burning the body.
Okay. But it had nothing to do with physical burning.
Correct.
Okay. And then the next one is number 6.
Escorted.
Oh, okay. Escorted and sealed. Tell me a little bit about that.
In this part, Lori and Chad were saying that if we had angels come up and they would escort the evil spirit or the demon that had just been cast out, then he would be escorted out of the body. And then if you look at number 7, then they will be sealed away and not be able to come back and bother anyone else.
I'm sorry, I said that was an and, but that was actually a 7. So the 7th step is to seal. Is that right?
Correct.
All right. And how do you seal somebody? How do you seal it?
The same way, verbally. You just say sealed away so that it doesn't come back.
Sealed away from that specific person.
Not from just this specific person, but from coming back to bother anyone else.
So he can't come back to the earth.
Correct.
Okay. And then under that it says dispel. Is that right?
Yes.
And then what does it say next to dispel? It's not you. I'm a terrible reader. What does that say?
Banish.
Banish. Okay. So you banish the person or the spirit. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And that's just done verbally. You just say you're banished.
Correct.
Okay. And then expel, reject, eject, purge. And then what's the last one after purge?
Evict.
Evict. Okay. And those are just all things that are kind of under dispel and banish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like synonyms.
And then it looks like there is a figure. There's some sort of a little drawing on the side of dispel and all the way down to purge. Can you tell me a little bit about what that is?
I'm not sure what that is.
Okay. And then under that, it says, after evict, it says cast out, get rid of them, right?
Correct.
That's the goal, or what is that?
Yeah, that would have been the goal, to get rid of them.
And then what does it say under that, get rid of them?
Forced to leave by official action, take away the right of being there, drive out, as in excommunicated and blasted. Then after that it says Matthew 8:16.
And what is Matthew 8:16?
It's a scripture.
It's a scripture in the Bible or in the Book of Mormon?
In the Bible, in the New Testament.
Okay. And I'm sorry, can I ask what that scripture says? Do you recall, or do you know?
Part of it says cast out with his word.
Okay. And then what else after cast out with his word?
Matthew 10:1.
Okay. And what does it say in Matthew 10:1? Do you recall?
He gave them power against unclean spirits to cast them.
Okay. And so the things that you were doing, you were writing these things down as you were being taught or as you were congregating with this core group of people, right, that were doing these casting out of demons?
Correct.
And that was biblically based or based on scripture?
I think that it was some scripture mixed with their own philosophies.
Okay. Tell me a little about their philosophies. When you in this particular context of casting out demons, tell me what their philosophies were.
Well, if you read in the New Testament, there will be Jesus telling his spirit to leave, but there was never any burning or ejecting or dispelling or being or having to be escorted or sealed. So there was a small part that was scriptural, and then the other part was their own philosophies.
Gotcha. But during this entire time, when you were doing these casting out of evil and demonic beings, you never did this physically. It was all done with prayer and spiritually, right?
Correct.
Okay. I'll give the bailiff or marshal the 54 again. Judge, I don't know if you want me just to go until 3:30 and cut me off, or I'd rather not go into another line, but...
If you are about to go into another line, I'd suggest maybe we end for the day.
I would ask the court if we could do that.
Okay, I presume you still got a pretty substantial amount of cross to go?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Let's go ahead and conclude the cross-examination for the day. What we'll do is dismiss the jurors here momentarily, and I'll have counsel stick around for a minute to discuss some scheduling and other matters we want to take up outside of the presence of the jury. So, first, a reminder, we are not holding court Monday. What is that, the 18th? 17th? So the 17th Monday, we're not having court. We'll resume again Tuesday morning, the 18th, at 8:30. and resume our regular schedule for the remainder of the week next week. Before we conclude for the day, as I've kept telling you I will do each time we go, in particular on a 3-day break here, I'd ask everyone to please continue to follow the instructions I know you have followed thus far. Very much appreciate your service and you continuing to not discuss the case with each other, with anyone else. Don't go doing any investigation. Don't look things up. Don't go into any media coverage of this case or any kind of investigation into the case over the weekend. We'll be expecting you to fill out those juror affirmations when you return on Tuesday. And with that, we'll conclude for the week, and we'll see you back here Tuesday.
All right, please.
All right, please be seated. Just a couple of quick planning items before we break for the day, Council. We do have this time frame at the end of each day at 3:30 when we're excusing the jurors, and that would be a effective and efficient time. If we have any standing objections, for example, you think are coming up, talking about witness orders, planning, that kind of thing, I'd suggest we start using that time briefly at the end of each day to just minimize the delays that we have with the jurors, so we're not taking up sidebars while the jurors are waiting. And I think we've done pretty well so far, but I think it could run a little more efficiently from that standpoint, so that'll be my request going forward. And I think that's about all I had to bring up today. We also did have an issue that Mr. Thomas had raised previously regarding the state's exhibit list. Was there something you wanted to mention further on the issue of the exhibit list, Mr. Thomas?
Well, Judge, I think we talked about getting an exhibit list, and what we're getting is an exhibit list for the day or for the next 2 days or whatever. We'd like an exhibit list that was supposed to be turned over to the court, and the court said that it had some issues with some of the things in there. So I don't know.
Your Honor, I spoke to defense counsel Wednesday and explained that we reordered because of next week. We reordered and moved something that was going to be a couple of weeks down and moved it up to accommodate other issues next week. And so that changed all my exhibit numbers. And I told them, I think it was Wednesday, that I would try to get it this afternoon or tomorrow morning because I don't want the jurors to skip from what would have been exhibit 70 to bringing in 100. So I told them I'd get them a renumbered list, given that we had to make some witness changes because we changed things for next week. And I told them that on Wednesday, and I asked if there was any concern. So absolutely, they're entitled to the exhibit list. We will absolutely get it. I just didn't want to give them one with the numbers wrong.
Okay. Well, the timing is probably more important than the order of numbering, quite frankly, because there's a jury instruction that explains to not be worried about any gaps or not non-sequential numbering, which the jurors can have with them. So I would ask that where we're having an extra day now to Tuesday, if you'd please get that provided by Monday to defense, and if there's an updated exhibit list, please provide that to the court as well.
Yes, sir.
And in terms of exhibits, the court will continue to expect courtesy bench copies of any documents that are being provided, and I appreciate you providing those up to this point.
Yeah, and on that, Judge, it's not my common practice to take evidence and copy it, so I apologize. I haven't been in front of you before, so I will absolutely make sure that's done from here on out in terms of those. And I'd had this conversation with defense counsel. They'll have their exhibit list, and I will email it to the clerk.
Okay, it's just one of those details that makes things a little more efficient where the exhibit can go straight to the witness. witness instead of to me, then the witness. In particular, if it's a longer exhibit, I really have to take some time to look over. So we'll ask the state to follow up with that amended exhibit list, and then I think we're ready now to break for the day. Before we do that, anything further from the state today?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Anything further from the defense?
No, thank you.
Okay. One last thing, I guess. We do have a witness on the stand. I'll intend to remember to ask the witness again if she's gone through and reviewed any of the other trial testimony. So while in between now and when you continue your testimony Tuesday, you're not permitted to review any other testimony that's already occurred in this trial. So please keep that in mind. And we'll resume again Tuesday morning. So we'll be in recess for the week. Thank you.
That concludes segment number 4 in the trial of Lori Vallow Daybell and the week's coverage. Courtroom coverage resumes on Tuesday, April 18th of 2023. And we'll, of course, have that audio for you here as soon as we get it from the court. I'm Tony Bruschi. Thanks for joining us, and stay with us.
This is continuous coverage
Continuous coverage.
in the trial of Lori Vallow Daybell from the Hidden Killers podcast.
Hidden Killers Podcast.